Doctor Who Season 24. Where to begin? This was probably the lowest point in Doctor Who history other than its cancellation 3 years later. And like Colin Baker, I do not blame Sylvester McCoy for this. In later seasons, he did reinvent the Doctor, and I think his performance over the years on Big Finish has been outstanding. But like the Twin Dilemma, which introduced Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy also had another disaster. This one also brings back the character of the Ronnie, played by Kate O'Mara, and the story's just a mess. When I was a kid, I didn't mind it that much when I first saw it back when it had its first run in Canada in, I guess it was 1988, but maybe, I don't know, I was too young to realize how bad it was. After revisiting it for the first time in years when it came out on DVD, it starts up with Sylvester McCoy wearing a Colin Baker wig, because Colin Baker obviously was not going to come back since he got axed, which is perfectly understandable. So yeah, he goes out on a disaster story. The original, I guess, conception of his Doctor was, I think they were trying to redo, something similar, maybe to Patrick Troughton, but it just didn't work. Sort of the bumbling clown that the Seventh Doctor was in his first series, which, ironically, he becomes one of the darkest, if not the darkest, incarnations of the Doctor by the end. Maybe, perhaps the Warrior Doctor might be a little bit darker, but yeah, but the first season, so Time in the Ronnie, just, yeah, terrible. Paradise Towers is the least terrible of the season, but as a Doctor Who episode, it's still very weak. And at this point, it's almost like, they're trying to mix pantomime with Doctor Who, and it was just, or they're maybe trying to go in the way of absurdist science fiction, which in some cases work. For example, if you're a good absurdist writer, I don't know, like Terry Pratchett does with fantasy, then it works. It did not work here. Yeah. And we have our kind of satire version of Hitler and weird monsters and just chants, and yeah. So that is Paradise Towers. And now we go into what I think is the worst Doctor Who story in history, and the only DVD that I have never watched all the way through. I am a completist, so I want to have the whole set, even the stuff that I hate. I don't know, I guess I'm just OCD that way, but I'm a collector, so I wanted to have Doctor Who's entire run. But this one, kind of a 1950s bus, and there's just, I don't even know how to describe this one. It's just, and this one, it starts off, almost in full pantomime mode, and it doesn't get any better, and it's just, it's a mess. That's all I could say. It's a mess. Just badly acted, badly shot, badly directed, badly written, just bad all around. And the funny thing is, I hadn't watched Doctor Who in a couple of years, probably during the hiatus, and I guess it was when I was a kid, partway through Colin Baker's first season around there, I stopped watching it, and when I caught it back on TV Ontario, the first story that I saw when it came back was Delta and the Bannermen, and then later Dragonfire, and then they repeated the first two. So at this point, even as a kid, even though I didn't notice how, I guess how crappy Time in the Ronnie was, even as a kid, I guess this would have been about 1988. Say it would have been about 10. But even as a kid, I'm like, what is this? This is terrible. And I still watched it, but the rest of them. But it's just, I grew up with Tom Baker and Peter Davison, and what is this? So yeah. And, of course, the characterization of Mel does not help matters. All she does is scream annoyingly. Well, like I said in the last video, almost everyone who, wasn't that great on the show has redeemed themselves on Big Finish audios, and she's definitely one of them. But just the characterization you know, she was supposed to be this computer genius, but really all she did was scream, and yeah. So, in Dragonfire, the story itself also still not that great. Definitely not as bad as Time in the Ronnie Delta and the Bannerman, but you know, just I think it's just the terrible sets really that, you know, just it just looks bad in Dragonfire. But on an up point, so this is where Mel leaves, and we see the introduction of the character of Ace, which I know a lot of people actually have come to identify as you know, one of their favorite Doctor Who companions. And I think in many ways is with the introduction of Ace and a change in the direction of the show and the beginnings of the changes to Sylvester McCoy's character that does redeem the show in season 25. But I think one of the main reasons why Doctor Who was put on hiatus after season 26, personally I think it was season 24. I don't think anything that they could have done really could have redeemed it. And season 26, as far as I'm concerned, is a work of absolute genius. But even that couldn't save the show. But anyway, so this is, yeah, the end of this video. Season 24. Got it over with. So, more to come. Thanks for watching.